So, how did you come to the protagonist being a woman?
I don't know, Lilith. That's a great question. I mean,
Not that I mind. Just
no,
curious,
I
because
mean,
you know how comic book companies can be sometimes.
you know, I- and I honestly, at this point in my life, being an older gentleman, um, sometimes I feel initially weird, like I'm writing a young woman, but and this and in Axels Infernal, like as well, because she's like another 20 something young woman, but I don't know. It just kind of came through that way. I can't remember. I'd have to go back through my notes and see if Demetrius had suggested that. But I don't think so. I think it was more just it was a bookie. It was a bookie. It was like,
Mm.
they're like I said, they're maybe telepathic, they're empathic, they can connect with people, got a heart of gold, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But it's just whether he suggested it or it came to me in its own right, it felt right. It allowed, as we'll see in some of the subsequent issues, um, we'll see some of her backstory a little bit, introduced through some, flashback mechanisms. Like, how did she get to this point? What was she doing before, both in terms of predicting the odds before the melt, which is the big thing that
Mm.
kind of destroys the world, um, and and how she was sort of mistreated, and that led her to certain decisions that she made, uh, and that also felt like a good dramatic conflict for a woman who is trying to achieve something to go through, versus a guy being in the same situation. So
Mhm.
hopefully it plays out well,
Well, in
and
Black
I'm
Box's
sure.
defense, they have a good mix of lead characters between being male
Yeah,
and female.
yeah,
They
they
do.
do. They do. They yeah, they seem very, um uh not agnostic to it, but they're very open to like anybody being sort of anything. And with the exception of her cleavage there on the cover, I think we represent her, fairly. It's sort of like, although how that particular outfit, stays on, I'm not quite sure, but I never am in
Sometimes the
comics.
girls just gotta breathe. We get it.
I know, yeah, exactly. But
You
Cybernetics.
know, you're doing all this,
that's
moving and kicking butt. Yeah, just gotta let it breathe
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, but it's and that went through so many design iterations. It was kind of comical at one point. There were just so many different things Mannix was doing. I was trying to help out by sending references on things, and does she look like this? Does she have more of that? And but ultimately, I'm once you sort of land on something and you start to live with it, then that becomes the look, that becomes the feeling. So,
Mhm.
and as well for her, her crew around her, they all have little bits and elements, around them that you see a couple of them on that second cover down the left hand
Mm.
side.
Mhm.
Um,
It doesn't like, is it always a balancing act with a story like this? It's like, well, how much cybernetics do I want to put on each character? I don't want to go overboard, but or did you have?
Take it
yeah,
back to
I
the
mean,
90s.
right, exactly.
Right.
Go back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Totally go overboard. It always works for there. I mean, the way I sort of approached it was, everybody had to have at least one thing that was severely damaged on them, right? Like,
Mhm.
Borsi's, I can't remember whether it's Borsi or McGrath, her two henchmen there, one lost, top of his skull, the other one, lost part of his jaw. Ruby lost more things, her arm, part of her face,
Mhm.
part of her torso, even, there was, so she was more severely, damaged than some. Um, and uh, so that was hopefully like a rationale for why these people have these replacement parts, not even necessarily augments. Certainly, there are people in the society who sort of dialed things up. I want the faster legs. I want the stronger, arm, that type of thing. But
Mhm.
this was all supposed to have been done so rapidly, as the world was literally melting and people were at risk. that
Ah,
it was there you go.
He
See
said
that?
the thing. All right, good night,
You know,
everybody.
everybody take a drink. Everybody take a shot. The late night format works so much better. We should have done this episodes ago. But
hello.
it was just meant to be, a quick replacement, not like, oh, I'm going into the shop and I'm doing this. Except perhaps for the, what I think I call the primes, which are the oligarch society, the people who have been damaged, but they still have money, and privilege. So they may have been had more choice in the way that they got their what's called graph tech, that they get put upon them. And then interestingly, I think, so we have a whole sub society of the melted, the people who, for one reason or another, never got anything, whether they're too late, or they didn't have any means, or they were so far gone, but they're still alive, but they're, they're pretty wrecked. And, and as we'll see in the second issue, one of those is actually Ruby's mentor from before the melt, which kind of makes, I think, for a little bit of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's cool. How did you come up with the idea of the melt as well? Because that was one of my favorite parts of the story. And for a few years, I've been thinking about that, about the possibility of something dormant lurking under the permafrost as it's melting.
Antarctica has flowers, yes.
Right. As it's rapidly melting as the days go by, something that it hasn't been seen since the time of the dinosaurs getting exposed to air for the first time, and however many millions of years.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not going to say that's a wholly original take. I mean, I think that much as you're saying, the more news things come out about, we drilled down 800 feet and we pulled up a worm that we then brought back to life. Well, that sounds like a good idea. That's that. Yeah, what could go wrong?
Exactly.
I know it was a combination of just as these guys know, from talking to me so long, it'll always be like a combination of a lot of little bits and pieces I'll kind of gather up. So certainly with climate crisis going on, and this would have been again 2 summers ago. I think the wildfires, the climate, kind of kind of going out of control, and then probably 1 or 2 news items about we found this in the Arctic, and it's still preserved, it's still alive. It wasn't meant to be something to dwell on and become this huge thing. It wasn't a like a sweet tooth type thing, where they go to the Arctic, spoiler alert kids, or the Antarctic, where that's a huge part of that story. What was exposed there and what they go back and rediscover. But it did feel like, here's a good MacGuffin, here's a good quote unquote gimmick to give some rationale to why the world is off kilter, why it's wrecked. And once I started to track it out, it felt like it was useful to me, without it becoming either totally cliched or overburdensome. And I think for me, that's always the balancing act. Does it give you some things to work with? And does it not then sort of feel like, oh yeah, I've seen that about 4,000 times. And probably if I got more into detail to it, it might become, it might damage itself in that way. So, but I didn't need it beyond like ruining the world and and
this needs a Captain Planet crossover with Peppos.
Yes, there we go.
I'll drop him a copy, and say, can you come save us? And he can step in. And I like his stuff a lot. So
do you have an I don't know if I missed it. Do you have an idea what, like, how far in the future this is, or is it just supposed to be vague?
And the not so distant future.
In the not so distant future. I mean, I kind of look at it as like 15, 20 years. I mean, I don't give a year. but
Okay.
I don't see it as like really far out. I mean,
Okay.
it feels to me like, and you know, when I was doing this too, you know, I was a little trepidatious because of the, you know, AI was breaking large, you know, now it's obviously much more pervasive, you know, and I didn't want to do a story that involved AI where it just felt like, oh, every story is going to be about AI, you know, pretty soon. But that's the way you sort of like talk yourself out of things. And so I just stopped second guessing it and leaned into it and said, well, you know, what she's doing is, and what's going on with her, you know, just give, you know, give it its due justice and run with it. But I wanted it to feel like the off the shelf aspect of it, you know, felt realistic, that everything is getting AI in it, right? You know, the stupidest things have
Even a
AI in it,
toaster
right?
has AI now.
But
No,
exactly.
true
And
story.
no,
True
I
story.
know.
but that's exactly it, you know, Lilith, and that's why I sort of, you know, said if AI is in everything, then you can sort of make the, you know, argument that everything could be used to fix these people, you know. So you know, a toaster might have chips in it that somebody could use to, you know, to rebuild, you know, the piece of their chest that's gone, you know. A
Hey, they
power
use
drill,
Samsung chips for the Mars drone, so I'm just saying from your cell phone.
yeah, exactly, you know. So I mean, I remember, yeah, so to me that just felt like you could achieve that within you know, 20 years without, again, pinning it down. And I didn't want it to be so far off that it's um you know, totally out of touch.
I mean, yeah, the future's here. I just hope it doesn't get tariffed out of existence.
Well, right, yeah, you know, the well, Gibson, it was William Gibson who said, you know, the future's here, it's just not evenly distributed. So that's you know.
I'm
Yes.
gonna put that on a T-shirt for sure.
Yes.
So, any advice for people trying to create their own comic universe? What to avoid, what to do?
I mean, probably, you know, I mean, I do things my own way, and that's not necessarily the best way. But you know, the right way to do it would be, you know, to uh, you know, create a database or a notebook or, you know, a set of files that really detail out, you know, each character is this, right? The world is this. You know, how did the world get here? What's the melt based upon? You know, what are the parameters of as we get into issue 3, I believe, you know, we introduce this kind of global sports game, you know, not quite a Quidditch, but you know, something that is called Grid Rush. That is, I needed a scene where there was a kind of a competitive event that they could bet on, and I didn't want to use, you know, existing things. But I mean, practically, logically speaking, you know, you spend a bit more time um, working those out, so then you've got the details for you. I think that's probably the best way to kind of approach it. I did none of that, you know. You know, I mean, I sort of did what I typically do, which I you know, I did a beat sheet of the story, you know, and you guys have heard me describe something like that before, where it's kind of, you know, Ruby crashes through wall, Ruby runs up the stairs, you know, Rysk advises her, you know, when I got to the sporting event, you know, type thing, you know, big arena, crash through this, uh, uh, rip this out of the floor, whatever. But then as I got to the scenes, you know, that's where then I then had to lean in and create the details around it, you know, describe it. How's the announcer going to describe it? I wrote these full script by Demetrius's request, you know, so this had to have a lot more thought through and thought out in terms of the dialogue and the captions. It wasn't like, say, with Black Armor, where it was the old plot. Netho Diaz did the art. It came back to me and I scripted it. You know, it's a bit more what you know you describe as your, you know, seat of the pants approach. And But I didn't mind it. You know, to me it was now and again I'd have to do a pause and I'd have to look up, certain things about augmenting your body, which Rysk can do for Ruby, not, can allow her to have control over her autonomic functions, how fast her heart is beating, or how much her lungs are intaking oxygen, the things that our bodies would normally do automatically, she can regulate to a certain degree, which can give her an edge if she's, like, say, running up the stairs, or trying to react quickly to a dangerous situation. And so, I'd have to do, some on the spot research, and look up some things, and then try to contextualize them into the story. But I didn't hit any roadblocks with it. I didn't hit any just heart-stopping moments. So as I said, it kind of worked out well, but I think you are better served if you can to kind of create certain things around the backstory of it. The other series I'm doing for Black Box, which apparently I did enough good on this that Dimitri has asked me to do another one, which is a totally different genre, because why stay in one place when you can go to the whole end of the other end of the spectrum?
You want to be comfortable, do you?
No, it's not. But so it's more of a sword and sorcery sort of thing. Which,
nice.
I've been putting some images out, but he hasn't announced the title name of it yet. But that I did end up doing a lot more kind of world building, even in the description to him. He again came to me with like a high concept angle on it, but then I had to take that away, and I had to open that up. So in doing that, in this sword and sorcery world, I had to kind of create like a kingdom, and political situations between the different whatever races or whatever that exist in this world, and just to describe what I was thinking. So that ended up being a much more I guess enriched approach than this, which, if you go back to my newsletter over the last 5 or so episodes, whatever, I actually played out the Rysk pitch, just in that newsletter. So you can sort of read like the 4 or 5 sections that I did, which was like, the odds, the parlay, the handicap. I gave them all fun little
Gambling
betting.
references.
Yeah, exactly, because it makes it look like I'm clever when I'm not. And but it's
Commit to the bit. Girlies love a theme.
commit to the bit, exactly. Lean into it. So.
And you are the research machine. Did you know a lot about like betting, or specifically like sports betting, or did you look up any?
No,
Could have just called Luca.
Yeah, no, I didn't, and sports I know nothing about at all. Betting, like I said, I know a little bit about, but it scares the shit out of me. If I go to a casino, I'm like, like my wife and I once went, it might have been a Terrificon or something like that. We afterwards, or we were in Vegas, for something. We said, let's go down to the casino, and it must have taken us, an hour to spend $20 because we couldn't figure out, like, what does this mean? How do you put the money down? What do you do? It was pathetic. But she found a dice machine that she did really well at. Anyway, the so I had to do a fair amount of research just to kind of understand, like, well, what's a point spread? What's a line bet? What's this? What's that? And I even have a scene that kind of acts as a little bit of a primer. I have a younger Ruby actually taking bets in grade school. So she's been doing this a while. Like, she's always had like, we
all know that one kid.
Know that
5th grade.
Yeah, he's mine.
Specifically 5th grade. If you know, you know.
Exactly. Is the milk in the cafeteria going to be spoiled today or not? Put your money down. Will the old teacher fall asleep? Put your money down. So she actually explains, what odds are and such, to her little cronies in the playground. And I think that worked out pretty well as a primer for, the reader as well, because I don't want to, sometimes you'll watch movies, or at least I do, that have, say, a poker scene in them, right? And so and so is losing, and so and so is winning, but if you don't know the game, you may get lost on the hands, right? Well, I've got 4 of a kind, and it's like, well, no, well, I've got 4 of a something, and, I guess that's better because the other guy looks really like depressed. But if you don't know poker, you don't know something, you're just kind of going with the energy of the movie. But
it's like, yeah, he's winning. What'd he do? I
Best
don't
movie
know.
to learn poker, Rounders, featuring Matt Damon and Ed Norton. Just saying.
yeah, no, Rounders is a really good movie, for that, and you got to find those things that sort of get that angle on it. I mean, I can enjoy sports movies without knowing sports at all, but then if it's a movie that leans heavily into what's going on in a sport like that, I'll be lost.
I was gonna say, reach out to somebody at Black Box. I have seen that. I guess there's like, I forget what the website is. You can actually make like personalized poker chips. So I don't know if that would be.
Oh wow,
Oh.
that's a cool idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will bring that up. He's moving into convention season, so
So you only
we're
got
playing
5 issues,
cards.
right? Of this
Yeah,
one?
right.
Is
Yep.
it easier to know? Like, okay, I have these 5 issues to do what I'm gonna do. Leave the back door open just in case, instead of like just an ongoing where you have no idea when it's gonna end.
Well, I don't even do they even do those these days? I don't even know. I mean, I had lunch yesterday with
Ongoing. Yeah, they go all the way to 12. I mean, come on.
I mean,
15 maybe even.
unexpectedly, I had lunch with 2 guys who are Marvel editors yesterday. Carl Potts invited me along to this lunch he was having with them, and it was a really fun time. We had just talking about nothing in particular, but they were saying, yes, the whole model is, just like
Trade.
limited runs of stuff. So I think it's to get to a trade. So I think that is the ongoing things seem much fewer and far between. But for this, yeah, I mean, knowing it was I needed to tell a story. I mean, I would have told a story even if I knew it was going to 10, right? You're always going to want to be paying something off, over 1 issue or 5 issues or whatever. But certainly this allowed, for I think a good structure and a good arc for Ruby and Rysk, and what happens to them, and where certain things change at a critical point in the story, for both of them. And then setting it up in that kind of open-ended way. If the story ends where it ends and we never see them again, I think it's a pretty satisfying conclusion, but it definitely does purposefully set it up as if, more to come if you guys want it. And
nice. Good.
I think Black Box has been reasonably successful in doing these 5-issue series, then repackaging them, and then that becomes the calling card for the idea, and whether they cycle back to it or not, that'll be a lot of things, right? Does it catch an audience? What other things is he trying to kind of get going at any given time? How does the distribution issues for a smaller publisher continue to shake themselves out, hopefully in a positive way.
They've really worked with some great creators. I was like, plus, I totally forgot that Scott McDaniels had done some work with them. A couple of
yeah. No, I mean, there's that
not
Chuck
to summon
Dixon
Noel Tate, Chuck Dixon, a couple of other
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I didn't look at creators, but I saw at the last page of issue 1, they like had like a big advertisement of like all the series. They got a bunch of series, and I was like, ooh, look at that one, just the cover catching my eye.
Right.
They got something for everybody over there. It's really kind of fantastic, actually.
Yeah, I keep telling him though, he's got to get like his marketing game up, because he just
well, he can hire you.
He could, but I've seen like his post, and he's like, well, if you're not, if you need something to do, this holiday weekend, on Memorial Day, maybe you would like to check out one of the fine titles from Black Box. It's like, dude, just like, add some exclamation points to that. Like, like you've got a bunch of like You got a bunch of great stuff, talk it up a little bit.
No, he wants you to sit at every con appearance with a megaphone. Hey, come get your black box comics.
Exactly. But from Demon Hunters to Madcap Jin, from this to that, he's got a pretty wide gamut of high concepts going on. So he could definitely hold his head high, that he's not just I guess delivering on the expected, been there, done that sort of thing.
And I don't know if you know, or if you can answer if you do know, but the next series he has you working on, the Sword and Sorcery run, is that going to start while Rysk is still running, or after Rysk? Or
I would presume after Rysk, or maybe toward the tail end of Rysk. Well, what are we in?
We're coming to the end of May here,
June,
so.
July, August. Yeah, maybe. I mean, he seems pretty keen on it, I think they're almost done with issue 4. So of, again, a 5-issue series. So I mean, I would not be surprised if if it gets out there in the fall, mid to late fall, which feels sword and sorcery season, right? It's kind of like a little bit more,
definitely,
right?
Yeah.
The weather's a little chill, you're wandering through the forest, what's out there. But that would be cool if that did happen. Nice to have like one to follow the other. And he seems so keen on that one. He actually asked me to start like thinking about a follow-up to that one already, to sort of build as a sequel. Whether or not that becomes real, I don't know. But
a sequel to that story.
Sequel to that one, like
wow.
a part two of that, which ends with a little bit of not a cliffhanger, but it again ends with a little bit of a tease that there could be more. And he seems to be keen now on maybe making the more happen.
I mean, again, this one, I mean, you could always come back to Rysk too, because again, it's comics. It's like, does any comic have a definitive end? It's like, oh, we killed everyone last time. Well, they're back.
Well, yeah, I mean, right. But you also have to feel like, is there another story to be told?
Yeah.
Does it? And most importantly, from a publisher point of view, did it connect with an audience? I mean, I think it's. I'm happy with it. I think it. I think there's none of my typical sins in it. It's not overwritten. It's not. It's not overly convoluted. It's got clever stuff going on. There's lots of good setup and payoff. Good action, good twists and turns. But there's a lot of stuff out there. So does an audience find it and share it with their peeps? Does it, the store owners want to bring it in? There's all those factors that you have to understand. It's a business, right? So as good as the book is, it has to still find an audience. I ordered some from my local and of course, as soon as I ordered them to get my copies, Demetrio sent me a box of them. But I went to my local comic shop on Free Comic Book Day because I wanted a couple of copies to see, and I wanted to send one to somebody. I said to the guy, it's like, well, first I said, order this copy, and he's like, oh, it looks like it's going to be a 5-issue series. Would you like to get like all 5? And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen in it because I wrote it. But
I thought you were going to be like, let me get the first one first. This is, I don't know.
Yeah,
this has to go right sometimes. Yeah,
that would have been too. But then and he was like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, yeah, if you want to order more than just the ones I'm doing, the ones I want for myself, order a few more, and I'll come in and sign them. But he didn't take the bait, as far as I know. So I'll never go back to that store. That's not true.
Hey, nothing's ever going to be taking your mom to the store to get that black.
No,
the shiny cover.
Yeah,
she stole every special cover. Yeah, she stole every special cover for herself. So let me turn the tables now, because you guys have obviously read it. And so what's the what's the review? What works? What doesn't work?
I just want to go first. When I just heard the name Rysk before I read it, I just knew this was like some kind of industrial espionage spy book. I mean, either way, I was gonna be happy. But like, I was just thinking, oh, this is gonna be a spy book. I just know it. But then we get cyberpunk, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's different, but not that different. I like when you go into the tech stuff, so this is like right up my alley, personally.
Good, cool. And it's definitely got, you're going to get your industrial, spy fix. Don't worry. There's going to be some good aspects of that.
I mean, I didn't see the betting part coming, but I like it. I think the issue did its job. It laid out this world. It didn't give you too much, but it gave you just enough where you're like, okay, I need to come back to for issue 2 for more. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. And I can always gauge how much I like a book, especially a new book, by when I can feel like the ending is coming up. Like I can feel like we're getting towards the ending, and I'm bummed about it.
Oh, it's gonna cliffhanger.
I'm like, oh no, I don't want it to be over. I want like at least a couple more pages.
You mean like when you're on page like 18 and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that definitely happened here. I was bummed when we got to the ending. I was like, I wanted some more of this. So.
Unfortunately, the pacing was too fantastic. It did go by too quick. I agree.
That's my only complaint. It was too short. I wanted more of it.
Well, that's better than the opposite. It's like, will this thing ever end?
Exactly. I particularly loved the cool designs of all the tech, like how the one guy had like the part of his skull missing, so he had that adaptation there, and it wasn't just the kind of the cookie cutter formulaic cybernetic enhancements that we've come to see and expect in a lot of these stories. There was a lot of different variations that took place on the aesthetic design, which was also nice.
Oh, good.
So I liked that a lot too. And like I said before, I love the concept of the melt. I thought that was great because, here's something that affects everybody globally, regardless of how rich they are, where they live, or that type of thing. So I loved that. It just, this story definitely surprised me. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting at all. So,
well, that's great. That's really good to hear. Yeah, I was thinking about like it doesn't happen in the series, but just there's no real place for it. But it occurred to me afterwards. If we ever go back to this world, like
flashback for the melt? Question mark?
Well, no. Well, you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit of that, but more importantly, like I think the melt takes place like 7 years ago or something like that, or maybe 5 years ago in Rysk time. But it occurred to me like any kid born after that, won't have it. They won't have the augments. So you might have this weird combination of normal kids, and weird as parents, but which is just like the real world anyway. So there you go. Thank you very much. I was waiting for that. But no, thank you, Justin. That's good to hear, and I'm glad it's playing out that way. So far.
Tell me you need a raise, because again, not only does it want me to read more Rysk, it's got me interested in reading more Black Box comics. So
definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
you'd be pleasantly surprised with like the diversity of genres in that company.
Oh, I know. I just saw like covers, and I was like,
some of the covers. I was like, ooh, that one looks cool. That one looks cool.
Like Devil's Dominion's really good. I just got into that one. Last week.
Good. Yeah.
There's one character that looked kind of like the Question almost on the cover, like a little bit with a mask. It looked kind of cool. Yeah, there was a lot of neat diversity in that roster. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's got a lot of great, stuff kind of going on. I mean, hang on, I'll give you guys like one little peek of like covers and stuff. A sneak peek, maybe. Let's see if I can figure out how to make anything work. That's the big problem. Can I share with this? Do I have like permission to share screen?
I think you
Is there a
can. Yeah,
button?
yeah.
Present.
Yeah, present down at the bottom.
Present. Yep. Okay. So if I share the screen,
Probably gonna ask you if it's an image, right?
yeah, is that the best way to do it? To like just like upload like an image? Is that the way? So save this thing out as an image?
They shouldn't even have to upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll just throw it up.
Just click it.
All right, hang on a second. Let's see. But yeah, he's worked pretty hard on like I think getting a good balance of the visuals and making the covers work effectively, and I've seen him working with the with the artists in that way. So there's definitely an understanding of what it needs to be, and there's nothing there at all. Oh, wait a minute, hang on, let's see if that works.
Glad I'm not the only one.
There, I might not.
I'm glad I'm not the other one.
There it is. Oh wow.
So
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I saw the final of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
Can
cover.
you say who the artist is on it?
Yes, it's Rodney Buscemi. So he's doing some kick-ass work, and Lorenzo Bondadini is the colorist on that. So they're doing some really nice work.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Loincloth's still too long. That's my comment for every sorcerer, no matter if it's
we haven't seen the variant one yet, Lily. So we'll take.
Oh no, it's not a Kickstarter variant, is it?
Yeah, exactly. We move quickly from the not safe to work to Bob Guccione is hiding under a rock version. Yes, it's all
kickstand on the Kickstarter, you say?
Exactly.
The third leg variant.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's he's and I think the covers to Rysk are looking just really great as well.
Yeah, those covers are great.
Yeah. What do we got to do to get those $60 holographic
oh yeah, foil embossed. Yeah, we need some foil embossed.
Oh, the cybernetic parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Particular, that's my preference.
Chromium.
Well, I definitely am going to suggest the poker chips and maybe the playing cards. Like
yeah, I think they're like you can like put whatever picture you want on like the middle of the poker chips.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You can like go with a lot of different cool things. I think this is like let me see. I think this is the cover to 4. So you can sort of see like we definitely start to kind of introduce all sorts of surprising type of variations on things.
Can I just make a suggestion? If you come back to this world, again, you got the bacteria from the melting and everything, cybernetic zombies.
He's got to wait till zombies get hot again.
Exactly.
Zombies won't be hot for another like 5 years.
Oh yeah,
cycle.
It's a cycle.
Totally. We're like almost back to the vampire thing again. So it's like it's gonna take another 5 years for zombies to be cool again.
But yeah, you said that was the cover for 4. Oh yeah, that definitely needs some foil on that.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does any of that stuff. Yeah. I think he's mostly focused on the variant cover.
Oh, the story? What the hell?
Well, that too, maybe if that works out. But if it doesn't, you've always got like foil and variant covers to fall back on.
Right.
So,
right.
I just want to say how great it is to like read new stuff from you.
Yeah,
like, just watching your evolution as a writer, and then like you have like you've worked with all these different companies too, so it's like how some companies you can kind of say like the Marvel way, and then like you know what I mean. So it's really nice to get to see like the different, and then you got your creator owned on Kickstarter, so getting all different kind of flavors of DG Chichester is really cool.
Selfishly, I just like it because this is fresh in his head. And it's not like, oh yeah, 30 years ago, I think I did this. Because
lost all those notes. Oh well.
Oh yes, the cash. Yes.
It is nicer to not have to like maybe that's how it happened. Yeah, there is a little bit more.
And then we have the story maze for backup.
Yes, some of that stuff there, but no, it is, and I do thank you guys, and I've said that, and you showed up in the story base. I hope you saw that. But I gave a shout out to you guys when you showed up in Hershey, but you helped me sort of like relook at so much of that stuff, which you can't change what I did then, but I can now look at it with a stronger point of view. I can still pick out the flaws, but I can also more easily see, well, no, some of that stuff really did work. Some of the stuff that I may even have been doubtful about, and now things like this where I can, I think it's going to work better anyway, just because I've got a better approach and I'm a better writer and so forth. It's just it's nice to kind of come back into it with a new perspective and a new set of skills, as opposed to just I don't think it's just I think it reads like me, but it reads like a better version of me, and not just trying to replay catchphrases and things that I did X number of years ago. But I could be wrong.
Oh, but not to shift off the topic here, but is there any updates on Axels Infernal #2?
Not really. I mean, we're still, pretty well below the number that I'd like to launch on. I mean, I had a good conversation with Carl a couple of weeks ago about, at what point do we, and there's #1 looking good. At what point do we sort of just pull the trigger and just kind of hope for the best? And that point may be coming up, even below the, the baseline number that I want it. I mean, it's such a weird mix of, components. You want enough attention on it. You want, you don't want to overprice the launch so that you never hit the funding, because you want the funding to kick in so that Kickstarter then pays attention to it and pushes it up in the algorithm. But you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and put the number so low that, well, even if it gets funded, we're going to have to be shouldering, it becomes a cost negative operation, which, but it's a very strong issue. It's, art wise, story wise, it really brings together so many things. I definitely want it, out there. But probably at least another, I would say 4 weeks before, we make that decision. And I'm booking some other, podcasts and stuff to try to like generate more attention. I've been doing that intermittently, and I've noticed, a handful of numbers go up here, a handful of numbers go up here. Everybody's been, very positive on it, which I appreciate. And then expanding that zone of attention is just what has to happen. So, more with that. And thank you guys, when you've been supportive of it always. So I appreciate that.
No problem. And again, I mean, you hit the number on the first one. It's you have the name recognition. I mean, you do make con appearances, which some creators don't get. So I mean,
yeah, and it's but it I mean it's when I did the first one, and I showed it around to a few people, professionals who've done Kickstarters, they were like, "Oh, you're definitely going to make 3 times your number, right? You're no problem, at least." And because people know who you are, and it looks great, and this and that and the other thing. And we made our number, as you said, but we didn't make 3 times our number. We made our number, and it was sort of like, and that was, we just kind of got over the line. And I'm not looking for it to be a money making operation, but I'm looking for it not to be a money sucking operation either. So that's the kind of balance, you have to put into it. But
just let us know what we can do. I need my number too.
I was gonna say, Dan, if you want to, we could do weekly episodes until with that
of it. Yeah. But I will say I'm like I've been inspired to try to also like do a prose version of it, which is kind of interesting. So I started the I don't know what you would call it, translation process to sort of see how how you a trans creation, how do you take it from here to here, And so that's kind of a experiment in progress, and
Very cool.
see how it plays out. But you realize then how, I mean, my plots and scripts, I've always felt are relatively detailed and give the artists a lot, but then you come to appreciate even more so like what Carl does, or anybody does, in that regard, where it's like, no, because all of that's there in the visual, I don't have to describe any of it. And suddenly you're doing the prose, and you're going to have to like choreograph everything, choreograph the action, keep the reader's attention, just with the words alone. So it's not something I've done at that level.
You really can't pull it. And they fought for 15 pages.
Because they're gonna have to write it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you could do it. You could. So the battle raged on. And then keep going. Everyone forgets, like in The Hobbit, that they made like the Battle of the Five Armies, which was like the third movie, that they did of the Hobbit series, is like 3 pages in The Hobbit. It's like, basically Tolkien's like, saying, because that wasn't the point of the book, so I'm not dissing him, but it is just kind of like the Eagles came and the dwarves fought, and that's kind of it, So I'll do a little bit more than that.
All right. So anyone have any other questions about Rysk or Axels Infernal? When are we going to get it?
Nope.
Well, I hope we see more Rysk. I hope that there's enough of a demand that we see beyond the 5 issues that.
Well, hopefully you feel the same way when you've made it through the 5 issues, Justin.
Well,
we'll check back in. We'll let you know. We'll give you a report
absolutely. Yes.
Could be a flaming wreck by next week, but I do not believe it will be. I can say with I will predict the odds and in Ruby's parlance that we got like a 98% chance the subsequent issues measure up to this as well.
I'm sure they will, and I'm still holding out hope for the holographic foil cover for the.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna see what I can get going, with him. I'll be in touch with him this week.
Yeah.
So next month we want to discuss Rysk number 2 then, because it sounds like we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, that'd be fine as long as it's out. I mean, it's
I hope it's out in a month. Yeah, because supposedly it's supposed to be in. Last I checked tonight, and it was still saying.
Okay. Well, like I said, the only reason it would not be would be like the distribution issues. Just if there was a hiccup and whoever stopped bidding on Diamond and who finally won the Diamond bid. That could be the hiccup that happens in between. But the book is done. I've got a proof of it. So or a PDF of it, so I know it's completed and the book is definitely on schedule. But that could be an issue with a smaller publisher that has trouble, like with so dependent on Diamond or what was Diamond.
So they just had massive layoffs. So
Diamond did.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it.
So, well, we'll see.
Well, if it happens, it's not going to just be Rysk. If that happens, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for the smaller people because Marvel uses somebody technically else, and DC and Image use Lunar, so it's really just smaller imprints. Right. Unfortunately, it's really kind of sad. Hopefully, they get it together.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that they will, and but it is a sort of an unknown factor that has to be just considered, and there's only so much that a publisher like that can do, right? There's no strong arming. It's sort of like you're very dependent on what happens, and that's the doorway into the stores. And he does, he sells the books online. I don't know if he does a digital version of them yet.
Yeah, he does. It's you can get it through Comixology, and then there's another one. I can't think of the name right now, but he has 2 venues for the online digital versions.
All right. So he's got that at least, like as a as a backup, with it as well. But fingers crossed. Yeah, let's go with that for next month. And if it looks like for some reason, if we hear like it's not going to be within the zone of it, we'll shift to something else. Your choice, dealer's choice. There
okay.
But I'm bump.
He's getting the hang of it. He's getting the hang of that betting talk. All right, this is when the host holds the book or whatever up on the desk. Yeah, Axels
Exactly.
Infernal, pledge your early
That's
support
right.
here. Come on.
Yep, please get in there, get some noise going about our pre-launch. This commits you to nothing except to be on the early bird list of when we do launch. We hear about some specials, day one discounts and extra rewards, which would be cool to be part of. Great little trailer on there and some other details on the project. And then if you are in Phoenix, Arizona, at the beginning of June, I will be at the Phoenix Fan Fusion from June 6th to the 8th, because you should really go to the desert in the summer.
I was gonna say, please be careful and stay hydrated, DJ.
Yes, exactly. Totally. It's like Minnesota in the winter and Phoenix in the summer. Yeah,
That might be somewhat cool. I mean, at least it's not like July or something. Yeah, true.
No, half my team works in Tempe. And they're already like, it started 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I remember going to Austin GalaxyCon, and that was like those people were outside baking, and, the line control was not because of GalaxyCon, it was the convention center, but it was there were just folks out there in the heat. They were going out there with cases of water to try to keep them hydrated while they were having to cook out there. And on the inside, we're like, where's everybody? Well, the line is just like not moving. So it's terrible. So anyway, so I'll be there. And if you come up with a copy of Rysk to my table, the first person to show up with a copy of Rysk gets their autograph for free, which is used to be the standing offer for Black Armor. And I'll honor that as well. The first person who shows up with Black Armor gets their autograph for free as well.
Nice.
Shiny cover, even better.
Shiny cover.
More money.
That's right. Bring your own spray paint. Make it shiny.
And of course, Dan always has like prints and stuff for
Oh yeah.
All
Pretty
right.
good. All right, guys. This was fun. Fun on a
Thank you.
Monday night.
Thank you very
Justin,
much.
good seeing you.
Yes, you
back
too.
Again.
Thank you. I will be.
Join us again.
Yes.
Super. All right.
All
Lilith,
right.
Phil, thank you as always.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Have a
You
great
guys
week.
do well.
Right.
Enjoy the week ahead. Okay.
Thank
take
you.
care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So,
Well, kids, the adults are gone.
oh Lord, pretty sad, especially with the age me and Justin are. All right. All right. Oh, I might. Oh, maybe I'll debut the new opening and the new song tonight. At the end, because I was thinking when we do interviews, I don't like to do a long intro, but when we do interviews, maybe I'll just put the intro thing at the end. So,
okay.
Kind of
do what you want, buddy.
Yeah,
You're the producer.
Whatever, I do what I want.
Executive producer.
Whatever. Oh,
executive producer, founder. The whole thing.
Whatever, I do what I want.
I do what I want.
All right, let's do the credits here. There we go. All right, kids. And again, we're not fancy comic book writers like Mr. D.G. Chichester. So, but again, you can always send your questions for him and for any creator we talk to or us. I don't know why, but CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And that's right. The next episode we'll be recording this Wednesday night. So get your Batman questions in for Ray before.
That's right.
Yeah.
You still have time.
Well, actually, it's already Wednesday, and I'll show.
Get your time machines out.
And of course, you can pretty much find us on most or all social media. Again, buy merch at TeePublic and Spring. And again, Lilith Hellfire's favorite method, just give us money over Cash App.
We're poor, starving, struggling artists. Cash App us now.
Oh my God, we need to make a commercial, like the ones with
Have you fed your podcasters?
Yes.
Or just us looking like pitiful, wounded animals. Be like,
you're dead Tamagotchi from elementary school.
Your time is running out.
That might be a little too niche.
These podcasters their time is running out.
They don't even have a brand new Blue Yeti mic to record.
You might just have to put them to sleep if you don't spend money. And of course, the Patreon, where again you get uncensored content every month. for the month of May, it is the
you got a new one.
Justin drunken unboxing videos.
Right. Yeah.
So you're gonna have a
To
hoot
see
and good
all the
time.
goodies that I got. Yeah.
And we'll be teasing that by the next episode with all the new drops. So
All right. Would you say 9 new ones?
pretty soon you're gonna have a full page here.
I'm surprised I don't
Oh no! Now I have to catch up.
Oh my lord! So literally in the month, every month, but literally in the month of May, the Patreon is going to be
more vicious and brutal than
ever. Yes, I'm vicious and brutal than ever. All right, and of course, then Justin, you can always find him
Any and everywhere.
Well, not as many places these days, but the Lost Library Legends, and he is doing like multiple
yes, we've
shows
launched
on
a couple
there.
of new sub-series over there dedicated to both Marvel's Sleepwalker and also the Immortal Shadow in comic books.
I know you and I
Mountain Dew Man talked you into it, huh?
Actually, these were my idea.
Especially the Doobie did it. Okay.
Oh yeah, the Sleepwalker one was all my idea. Yeah.
I think it was the Shadow one. You were talking about how you guys were working together, and then you got headhunted. I'm assuming you're talking about me.
Oh yeah. Well, also Predator and Prey. Ray.
Oh, y'all about to be eating good in a minute. That's some interesting stuff coming out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about this year.
Did you guys talk about Predator vs. Spider-Man #1 yet?
No, actually, no. We haven't. No, haven't talked about that yet.
Send in some feedback for that.
Yeah. That might be our next topic, actually. That might be our next one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, and Lilith doesn't want you to find her, so she says, "Suck it."
No, I say go touch grass and get fresh air while you still have it. Have it for too much longer.
They figure out how to tax that.
Exactly. Worse even a tariff.
That's true. All right, kids. Now we're going to take you out with a new hit, the new Capes and Lunatics theme song. And if you're watching on YouTube, which you should be also, the new intro. So, all right, until Wednesday, and we'll have the hard master with us.
Yes. Phil, the answer to that question you text me, anything with big old old bitties.
Oh, well, you'll see what I pick, but it may.
Speaking of tickle, I went and saw Sinners today.
I
really enjoyed that, by the way.
Yay!
It has tickle bitties.
Yeah, there's one character with some.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
right.
That's all I could say.
You just know he's getting suffocated tonight with those things. Sinners was a really good movie, a surprising musical
that I actually very good.
Enjoyed. Yeah. I recommend it to everybody. I thought it's a fantastic original IP, and I really feel like we should be supporting original IPs.
Absolutely. I enjoyed that very much.
It's Ryan Coogler. Come on.
I was thinking I need to see this. No, I definitely need to see this. All right.
We should do I know it's probably going to be a little too late, but I think we should do a review after Phil sees it.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
It's vampires. Classic.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, kids. Good night. And like I said, we'll take us out with the new theme song and intro.
New song.
All right. Good night, kids. Yeah, that's nothing. That's executive producer.